Greetings, I am Live.
And I am Scandal.
And let's play a game together.
Yes,
All
I'm
right,
so excited. Here we go.
So we were asking about this brand new convention of the parenthesis inside of the quotes and going, what is this? So we're going to see if we can find out while Natsuki has to wonder.
If we can do the thing called sussing out. If we can suss out the meaning.
If we can
discern
from context.
Yes.
If we can divine.
Wait, maybe that was a compliment? I'm glad to see someone recognizes my experience. Well then, keep practicing and maybe you'll be as good as me someday. That's, something tells me Natsuki completely missed the point.
I mean, she got super awkward and panicked.
Yeah,
That sounds like social panic.
Honestly, though, also... Okay, so one thing that I feel is missed out a lot in regards to character development or character processes.
Okay.
Society doesn't work if people don't trust each other. So the concept that basically her trying to think the best of you as the main character would make total sense to me. And actually, like, the more that I've gotten older, I have recognized sometimes where, like, the thing of people just going, see, shame on you, you believed this person. It's like, yeah, because we've all been taught to, and that you're trying to think the best of people, that horrible things aren't just going to happen, or that someone's not actually trying to deliberately be mean to you, or whatever it is.
So essentially her taking it positive is an experience of her going, hey, if I don't think too deeply into this, I can just get something good out of it, and then we're good to go. Mm-hmm. And as reasonable, mature human beings, if for any reason me taking it positive is wrong, which doesn't hurt me, you can then correct me later.
This is actually also a tactic, though, that people talk about in regards to, like, when you approach somebody for a debate/argument, which argument and debate in actual debate are the same thing, but it's the concept of going that you're assuming that the person who's going to approach you is approaching you in good faith. You actually want to have a discussion of ideas rather than being at basically a position of, I'm just going to prove I'm right, fuck you.
It's why a lot of people who are nice, thoughtful people get subject to sea lioning, where someone continues to badger them for, yes, well, explain to me why. Yes, well, explain to me why. Yes, well, I'd like to know how that works. And they go, I just assume you're trying to learn, until I realize that you're kind of going in a circle and you don't care.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right,
something tells Natsuki completely missed the point. Come to think of it, this kind of reminds me of Sayori's poem from yesterday. You think so?
That my poem is like her poem.
Are you what? Yeah, well, I guess if you've been friends with her for so long, you might be on the same wavelength.
Does this game do this, like, regardless of what you choose? I'm like, there's such a level of, we're going to aggressively connect you to Sayori, or if this changes. I'm going to have to, like, again, look at something else once we're done with this, going, okay, like, why is everyone so hard? Like, you and Sayori. Ooh, woo.
Ooh, woo. Honestly, it might be. So, we've been talking about actually, like, streaming here on the channel, and we've actually got something lined up where eventually we're going to start streaming come October. So if you're seeing this in the future, too bad you missed it, October 2020. But I'm kind of wondering, maybe if we can get through this before, like, so our initial playthrough, maybe we should play Doki Doki Literature Club and go
do it differently.
Yeah, and see if we can do something else, and basically just kind of mess around with it and see what we can get out of it. I don't know. That's something to consider. Because it just occurred to me. Because I'm like, as everybody's going, no, there are multiple endings to this. So
Are there also multiple paths? That's what I wonder.
Yeah.
Okay, so
same wavelength. But you never really struck me as her type.
So even though you're like her, she wouldn't want to date you.
Sayori has a type all of a sudden? What?
Oh, good.
Oh,
I'm so glad.
I'm just gonna go be sick.
I mean, you might be glad that you're not her type.
I don't know, but honestly, how could someone so fluffy spend so much time with someone like you? It's like she's dragging around a dead weight. Do you have a crush on Sayori?
We're gonna get insulted. Someone's actually gonna call us out for being a jerk and a pain and not enthusiastic and disengaged. Oh, I am ready for this. Go, Natsuki, bring it.
Yes, bring it, honey. I would love to see what you have. That was a little unnecessary, but also, like, weak. Your game is so weak.
Also,
honey,
it could be like, honestly, I think she is the dead weight.
Excuse me? Who's the ball and chain here?
Right.
So I'm like, Yeah, I don't like that trope in heterosexual stuff. It's fine. Okay,
Nope.
But think of it this way. If it weren't for me, she would probably just fly away like letting go of a balloon. I have to be the emotional brick here because have you seen that fucking mess?
I keep her grounded.
Okay?
Because you know how important it is in the real world to be
Grounded.
And so her head would just be literally in the clouds.
All the time.
Which would not function very well for her life, so I suffer myself to play the role.
Great. I'm so excited. You could say we take care of each other in our own way. I cannot believe I just said that with a straight face. I will now be ill.
She will not go away, so I continue to try and make her tolerable.
Great. I wish to die. Whatever it is, I don't get it. Oh, yeah. I guess I'm supposed to show you my poem.
I got sidetracked with going, mechanics, and I need to push you towards Sayori, because that's what everyone has to do at least once.
Right. Yeah. Here, just take it. Amy likes spiders. You know what I heard about Amy? Amy likes spiders. Icky, wriggly, hairy, ugly spiders. That's why I'm not friends with her. Amy has a cute singing voice. I heard her singing my favorite love song. Every time she sang the chorus, my heart would pound to the rhythm of the words. But she likes spiders. That's why I'm not friends with her. One time I hurt my leg really bad. Amy helped me up and took me to the nurse. I tried not to let her touch me. She likes spiders, so her hands are probably gross. That's why I'm not friends with her. Excuse me as I scroll down here. Hang on, I've lost my place. Okay, Amy has a lot of friends. I always see her talking to people. She probably talks about spiders. What if her friends start to like spiders too? That's why I'm not friends with her. It doesn't matter if she has other hobbies. It doesn't matter if she keeps it private. It doesn't matter if it doesn't hurt anyone. It's gross. She's gross. The world is better off without spider lovers. And I'm going to tell everyone.
Okay, that's interesting.
I'm
suddenly like, that sounds really suddenly aggressive and way more structured than her last thing. But also like that doesn't sound like your last poem at all. Which is fine, because people don't have to write similar things in any way.
No.
But that's kind of interesting for, a game where a lot of times if they're building personalities, they work to sort of have a consistency, even if it's slightly artificial. And that's a little bit wild.
I was about to say, like, the shift is intense, and suddenly everybody's really gone off, like, really hard. Like, Yuri's was really wild.
We're getting a little darker here in our subject matter, and also a little more direct with our themes.
I guess. But also, again, so you're going to have to forgive me. A lot of times, I really just, I do not get where people are like, no, it was there. It was really obvious. When when you read that one short story about white elephants, it's totally about abortion. Like, I completely missed that. I was like,
yeah,
what?
So in literature class, both of us had to, and it's a standard American college-level literature thing, of reading Hills Like White Elephants.
Yeah.
And it's a short story where everyone that I've ever known that's had to read it is told to interpret it.
Yep.
And then when they don't interpret it as a tale about abortion, they get told they're wrong, and that it's a story, it's a metaphor for, it's a story about abortion where everyone's speaking in metaphor about the abortion.
Right.
And that it's supposed to be like basically them having different opinions about the same thing, and the sort of challenges about this experience. And I'm like, I didn't get that at all. My friend didn't get that at all. I met one person that claimed they got that from it immediately, and I'm like, maybe you have more experience with the subject.
Well, and it's also kind of like, to me, again, going, what is to say that you can't interpret art as something else? If you're going to claim that art is, interpretable, which is exactly what most art is supposed to be, why can't you interpret it as something? I don't know. It always annoys me, and I still have my college book, and I still don't get it.
See, and I don't get anything specific from this. Like, as much as I did from the other one, I'm like, with this one, I'm basically like, you're just showing that you can be biased in some cases. This could either be self-referential of sometimes people don't like me for the shit I like, or, writing yourself as the essentially object of dislike. Or it could be this experience of going, sometimes I really just can't connect to people if they have that one thing.
Right.
Like I had my good tall friend talk about deal breakers one time.
Right.
And he was a little bit uncomfortable about it in reference to relationships, where he's like, sometimes the smallest thing will be a deal breaker for me, and I feel petty about it. And so I talked to him about what some things might be for deal breakers, and he's like, well, there's this, one woman that I was dating for a while, and then, her truck ran out of gas. And I was like, well, you could have planned ahead, this kind of thing, right? And she's like, okay, yeah, whatever. And then it happened again within 2 weeks of us, dating each other. She got stranded, her truck ran out of gas. And he's like, you really could plan better this, because she's calling, asking for help, that kind of thing.
Right.
And she's like, it's my truck, it's my prerogative to be disorganized about it if I want to. And he's like, that made me not want to date her at all in any way. And he's like, and that felt really, really petty, right? And then I'm like, actually, that one statement can indicate a myriad of other things. So there's an extrapolative interpretation from that you're not just not interested in her anymore and have no romantic vibes because of that one statement. It's because of all the things that statement implies.
Yes.
Such as many other habits in the life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, also, if that one thing would drive you nuts, it's okay to not be attracted to that person, because that's beyond your comfort level.
Well, and that's the thing. I'm going, like, you just have to decide where your values are, and that's fine. All right. Whoops. Wrong
that was the whole thing.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
All right.
Not bad, right? It's quite a bit longer than yesterday.
Yes! Our focus on Splat going the smallest and shortest possible is valid in this moment.
Dear God.
Oh my God. Splat is just like, could we just have less words, please?
Please.
Everybody that needs that is going to give words to me, can I just have less?
Right.
I'd be like a smaller serving to no serving, please.
Right. Honestly, I'm also being vaguely entertained, because when I remember briefly looking up one thing for Doki Doki Literature Club at one point, I remember seeing a very brief line where people are like really desperately apparently trying to interpret the hell out of this game, of going, there's so much layers to it and so many things going on, which is one of the ways that I found out, going, oh, there's apparently multiple endings, was just people going like, okay, so when you do these things, and I was just like, whoa, okay, too many spoilers, because we don't really know what's going on, and I was not looking into it. It was literally just what showed up on the Google search.
Right.
But it was just, I was going, for me, I was wondering, and I just lost my train of thought. God damn.
You were just profoundly looking at something. Maybe I'll come back to you as we go along.
It's quite a bit longer than yesterday's. Yesterday's was way too short. I was just warming up. I hope you didn't think that was the best I could do.
Actually, I thought you could make shorter, and that would be even better.
Shorter would be fantastic. I think it's interesting where, to me, my interpretation of Natsuki, because she's going, I'm going to be short and to the point, and going, why did Natsuki suddenly go, I need to go longer?
I would tend to say that if we're looking at that, it could be simply because Yuri attacked her for it, and going, well, it's just so simple, and it's just so basic, and it's just so, ordinary. And then Natsuki really defended herself, but she got super defensive about it. And sometimes when people get super defensive, they then go, I will prove to you that I can do this thing. So one of my grandma relatives, because you have grandmas related that are in the family that are in very different, distant ways. At one point in front of her, it was mentioned that I have good spatial recognition. That I'm really good at figuring out if things will fit into other things, whether something will fit furniture into a room or something into a box or whatever. The one cool trick that I have, and I say that, sort of slightly tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, is that I am really, really good at packing shit or storing shit or putting shit away, because I can figure out what will fit where very quickly and very efficiently. If the stuff won't fit in the trunk of your car for vacation, I can fix that in about 5 minutes, and that has always been what I've been able to do for no particular reason. I just have good spatial recognition, right?
Right.
And so at one point it was pointed out by someone in the room, she's got really good spatial recognition, and for whatever reason it just rubbed this grandma the wrong way, and she has then continued for almost 8 years now, whenever I am around, to be like, let me do this thing and then make something fit somewhere. Well, I saw it and I just understood that it would fit, because my eyes just work really well like that. I'm able to understand spaces, and I'm like, I don't find this to be a point of pride or arrogance or a particular value to me, other than it's useful in its own place.
You're
and the reason I call it
showing off.
The reason I call it a party trick is because it's not useful in most circumstances. There are not a lot of places just wandering through your life where spatial recognition is super useful. As far as sticking things into things. There's not a lot of times where you're just looking at your friend's feet and going, God, your feet are almost exactly the same size. I bet you guys could just share shoes, kind of thing. or when you go, yeah, well, you need to store it in, the fridge, so I bet that container would fit it, and they go, would never fit in there. You're like, no, trust me, it would. Kind of thing. It wasn't a point of pride, but she's taken it as a personal attack on her value, and continued to be like, and look at this thing, and I'm like, where did that come from? So I feel like it's that kind of defensiveness here of going, even if it was never something I cared about before, because I never saw that behavior in her before until it was brought up, that then you go, but I'm going to prove that's in my range, even if it's not like me.
Right. I'm wondering if the sheerest, for me, the most basic response to this actually is Natsuki is mad at Yuri, and this really does just have to do with Yuri.
Could be.
Being like, she likes spiders, fuck her. She likes something that's gross. It's not
Yeah,
cool.
she likes something ew.
Yeah.
And maybe it's like horror.
Of course not. Anyway, the message is pretty straightforward in this poem. I doubt I have to explain it. Sometimes you can explain complicated issues with much simpler analogies, and it helps people realize how stupid they're being.
You don't have to use complex, flowery language with simile and metaphor. You could just come out and say it.
Bitches.
Actually, I appreciated that lovely gentleman who was on TikTok recently. Who he was this big farmer boy, right? Probably about 6'3" sort of thing. You know, had a beard. You know, like sort of strong, but you know, medium to heavy build. You know, kind of that sturdy, like sort of farm boy build. Without you know, you're not being ripped. You sort of got that like traditional muscle man build, where you know you're sort of padded and cuddly.
Right.
You know, and he's talking about. I hear a lot of you girls out there saying you want to date a guy like me. You want to date a big, you know, basically bear of a man kind of thing, but you know, without the other context of bear.
Right.
I say, and he's like, there's some things you need to know. And there was a couple of things about just basic behavioral stuff that you'll need to understand that were very cute. But then he rounded it out with, and guys like us aren't used to being hit on by socially valuable girls, if any girls at all. So you're going to have to be real blunt, real straightforward with exactly what your interest and intention is. And I just thought it was really cool that he just came out and said it. And I appreciate that that's what she's going for here, of just going, just say what you're thinking. Because metaphor has its place, but at the same time, the level of confusion we all have in communicating with each other and trying to send signals instead of just telling someone directly, again, because that sort of romanticization of just figuring it out instead of being told.
I convey this to you emotionally, and you pick this up emotionally, which is probably also a thing that might be indicative of actually even both of us like really liking potentially this approach, because we both, to us, basically are on some form of the neurodivergent scale, and it gets really confusing sometimes when people really like using a bunch of analogies or a bunch of metaphors, or they really like basically talk around whatever the hell they're going off about, and you go, oh, okay, so this thing, and they're like, well, no, and you're just like, what are you talking about then?
So what I'm
Be
hearing
direct.
you saying is, and then they're like, they're staring at you like, you know, you're a dense brick and this is awkward, and you're like, I'm just telling you what you've said to me, and there's a lot of, well, never mind.
Yeah.
And you're like, you just came with me with something that I can tell has emotional weight and is important. And when I've said, what I'm hearing you say is this, based on the words you've given me, you're like, well, never mind. Just forget it.
And that has been actually infinitely frustrating growing up, where a lot of people really do that. And you're going like, look, this is not an attack on you. It's going, I wish to have comprehension. Anyone would agree that the subject of this poem is an ignorant jerk.
Anyone would agree. All people would agree.
Do you know people like that?
You know ignorant jerks?
Like, oh my god, like, whoa, of course, it's about how everyone thinks that doesn't matter. It can be about anything. I wrote it to be easy to relate to. Everyone has some kind of weird hobby or guilty pleasure, something that you're afraid of if people find out about, they'll make fun of you or think less of you.
Okay, so I'm getting from all of them of there's always another secret. All of us have secrets. By the way, secrets.
Yes.
You're going to be discovering secrets. And we all think that our particular secrets are weird, shameful, or unacceptable. And she was writing about herself. She just admitted it. So that one piece of going, this sounds like it might be a basically examination. And I wonder if people think her being cute makes her, you know, inaccessible. Like, that's not cool, that's not mature, that's not whatever.
Or just going, you are supposed to be cute, but I know you have something else going on.
You try and you do this big serious thing, which makes you gross.
Yeah.
And it's more gross because of the contrast.
But that just makes people stupid. Who cares what someone likes, as long as they're not hurting anyone and it makes them happy? Which is actually a really good point in regards to that, of going like, this person is doing their own thing in their own circle, and it really is got no influence on anyone else, which is where they talk about, for example, like, you know, the separation of religion and, you know, state, of going, you can say, for my religious reasons, I'm not going to do a thing, but you're not allowed to then go, because of my religion, you're not allowed to do it. Kind of thing.
And it is really this thing where a lot of people go, well, because of my beliefs, you can't do that. That is not acceptable unless it violates your personal bodily autonomy.
Yes.
And I don't say mental autonomy because you can say, well, you can't do that because it makes me feel uncomfortable, and going, you don't have to be in that space. Sort of like people trying to police each other's like posts or media or things like that, going, you can't write this content, it makes me feel uncomfortable, and going, since there is a way for you to leave, and I'm not shoving it in your face because it's just on the internet and you have to navigate to or away from it. It is okay for me to write. It's not violating you because you had to come here and look at it. Now, if somebody is in the presence of you going, I believe I should be able to show my writing to anyone, and they're pushing it in your face, you have to read this, then they are violating your bodily autonomy. You're not allowed to leave it. But your bodily autonomy is tied to your mental autonomy when you're online, when you consider the internet, which didn't used to exist. Okay? And so your bodily autonomy is your ability to choose with your body to navigate away from things. And so yeah, there's that. I feel like a lot of people misunderstand that, going, well, yeah, I'm not going to tell them that, you know, they can't do things, but of course they can't do this, that violates me. And I'm like, it doesn't violate you if you're not made to be subject to it.
Yes.
So it existing doesn't inherently violate you unless it continues to interact with you and you are not allowed to stop.
Yes.
Anyway,
what makes them happy? Well, we're gonna find out what makes us happy potentially in the next one. Who knows?
We're gonna examine the conventions of making yourself happy.
Yes. So thank you much, guys, then, for joining us. If you like what we do, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos if you're having a good time with us. Please also feel free to go check out our Ko-Fi or Patreon. We got some links in the description down below. And I have been Scandal.
Hobbies don't have to be productive. They can just make you happy. And I have been Liz.
And it was great playing with you.
Bye!